Mars moves to Cancer and debilitates itself. Hello everybody, I'm Tina Chaudhary. Welcome to my channel and a very warm namaste. I make astrology simple so everybody can understand it. So Mars is going to transit into the sign of Cancer on June 2nd, and it's going to stay there till July 20th. Pretty long time. It's almost 2 months, a little less than 2 months. And so it's been in Taurus previously for a month, and then for another month it's kind of been in Gemini. So these are the two signs that Mars feels pretty good in the sign of Taurus. It was with Rahu or North Node, so it was creating an Angarak Yoga, or if you can watch my video on that, which means it was very exalted, meaning Rahu was making it fiery and giving fiery results, warlike situations, anger situations, fire situations. So finally now it's moved into Cancer. So now when Mars moves into Cancer, why does it debilitate? Cancer is ruled by the moon, and Mars and moon are very friendly to each other. They're friendly planets. So why would Mars debilitate in its own friend's house? Now Mars, when it goes to Capricorn, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn and Mars are sworn enemies, but it exalts in Capricorn. So what is the reason that Mars debilitates in the sign of its friend's house, which is the moon, Cancer, but exalts when it goes to Capricorn, which is its sworn enemy, Saturn's sign? The reason is very simple. If you look at the signification of Mars, Mars is considered the army general of the birth chart, and an army general is somebody that fights. It's a fighter planet. It likes to fight for protection of its rights or protection of its land. Mars is also considered Bhumiputra, or the son of land or real estate, or of the earth. So it owns land. It signifies real estate, hence. But also Mars is a warrior planet. It signifies the energy and the vitality of our body. It signifies the courage a person has in their life. It depends on how Mars is placed in your chart. Athletes that do well have a very well placed Mars because they need stamina and strength. So Mars signifies strength because it's going to fight. It's going to be a fighter. So people in the army have to be very strong, physically strong and mentally strong to be able to fight and fight against enemies and battle. So that's the signification of Mars. Now when you, and the moon is, which is Cancer, the moon is signified by your mother. It is signified by nourishment. It is signified by your domestic happiness because it's the ruler of the natural fourth house, which is your own home and your household happiness and your mother and the motherly love. So moon represents your mother and your motherly love. Now put your army general within the confines of your household happiness and your mother. Now the army general is not going to fight with the mother. The army general is not going to fight within the confines of its own house because that's not a fighting ground. So it loses its strength and vitality because it doesn't know what to do, because that's it. The karma of an army general or a fighter is to fight, and now because it can't and it knows it's not supposed to, it loses its strength and vitality. Hence, Mars debilitates in Cancer because it loses its signification or the reason and its main representations. It loses it. Now, why does it exalt in Capricorn? Because Capricorn is the enemy, and that's where the army general is the most powerful, is when confronted by the enemy. So when it goes to the house of its enemy, it exalts because it has full force, full energy to fight against the enemy, which is Saturn. That's why it exalts in Capricorn. So those are the reasons Mars is going to debilitate in Cancer. Something else that we need to consider is the fact that when Mars is in Cancer, directly across from it in the 7th house is Capricorn, and guess who's sitting there? And Saturn has been sitting there for a long time. And when houses are directly across from each other, Vedic astrology believes that they have vision, so they are going to look at each other. So Saturn's going to be staring right at Mars and irritating Mars quite a bit. So it's going to have an influence on Mars. So Saturn will have an influence on Mars for these 2 months that Mars is going to be in Cancer. So when we make predictions or when it impacts us, we need to keep that in consideration, that there's going to be some Saturn influence on all of us at this time. Now, who does it impact the most when I talk about all these transits and the predictions that I make? So if you have any kind of dasha, mahadasha, Antardasha, Bhukti, or these are the phases that Vedic astrology believes in. If you're having one of Mars or Saturn or any other related planets, then the effect that you feel will be the most. If you're not having any Dasha or Antardasha that relates to Mars, Moon, or Saturn, then you probably won't feel it as much. But you know, the transit is a long time. It's 2 months. So somewhere along the line, somebody may have a dasha or antardasha or the smaller dashas for a few days. So sometimes most of us do feel it. But again, it also depends largely on where Mars is placed and the moon is placed in your birth chart. So, and where Cancer falls in your birth chart as well. So it depends largely on that. So you should read my predictions based on that to see whether how much of an influence they will have on you. So let's take a look at the nakshatras that Mars is going to transit through while it's in Cancer. So the first nakshatra, it's only going to stay there till June 7th, a few days, is Punarvasu. Nothing to report, nothing to worry about there. On June 7th, it goes into the nakshatra of Pushya. Now, Pushya is ruled by the moon, and its main significance is nourishment for the body. Because remember, I said moon denotes nourishment and food and all things good. So this is going to be a great transit, meaning it's going to have some good significance for when there's pandemic related issues. So the US has already announced that there's going to be, the lockdown is coming to an end June 15th, and things coming back to normal. Obviously that's probably some impact of the Mars going into Pushya. But I believe in some countries in Asia, like India and Singapore, I think, still have a lot of pandemic impact, negative impact. People are still getting sick. So I think that when Mars moves into Cancer and then finally into Pushya, the pandemic numbers may go down a lot, meaning the bad numbers, people getting sick. I think they might see a lot of recovery during that time, and the pandemic numbers may seem to go down a little bit. The moon also represents medicine. So I think that whatever medicine people are receiving may have a good impact on their body, and they may recover fast. So it's a good transit to have. So that's the second nakshatra. Now the third nakshatra is going to be Ashlesha, and that's when the problem starts. Now, one of the things that I neglected to mention is that while moon is in Cancer, one of the significations, like I said, all of us may see, is irritability. We're going to be not angry, but irritable. When Mars was exalted with Rahu, I had mentioned that there's going to be anger issues. But now that Mars is debilitated, it's going to give us not so much anger issues as it's going to give us irritability issues and frustration issues. Because remember, I said Mars is frustrated when it doesn't know what to do. So it's going to give us those kind of factors. Now, when Mars moves into Ashlesha is when we're going to see most of these frustration issues come to the front. Now, why is that? Ashlesha is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury rules our communication. So communication coupled with Mars being irritated, well, of course you would imagine that our communication is going to be frustrated. It's going to be irritable, with irritability. And then this is where our problem will happen, where we may see that our relationships, we're going to be communicating in a very irritable manner. We're going to get frustrated with people. We're going to know, why is somebody doing that? Why can't I do this? And we may want to fight. We may not fight or not know how to fight, and hence get frustrated. So we may not know how to do or how to handle things, and then just get frustrated and irritable. That's what Ashlesha is going to do. One of the things Ashlesha does, it's not one of the best nakshatras out of the 27 nakshatras, because some of the things that it rules are more negative unless they're managed really well by the individual. But Ashlesha also deals with some of the negative impacts, such as in the world, which could be, war-like situations. Also, a lot of natural disasters can be seen, especially during Ashlesha and also Pushya, because Pushya is ruled by the moon. It's a water sign. And so natural disasters, that such as, it could be land related and it could be water related disasters. So those are some things that unfortunately we end up predicting as astrologers. So during this time, the whole time that Mars is debilitated, unfortunately we could as a world be seeing a lot of natural disasters occurring, water, land related. Mars is related to the land. It's called the son of the earth. So earth related disasters, water related disasters are predicted during this time, especially when it's Pushya, because Pushya is ruled by the moon. But then other people related issues are seen during its nakshatra travel through Ashlesha. I'm going to move on to predictions now, but if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. There's a wonderful video, next one, coming up on the solar eclipse. So please do so. If you like my video, hit a like button, and please do share it with your friends and family. I'm sure they'd like to know what is going on in those planetary skies. First sign, Aries. Aries, this transit is happening in your 4th house. The 4th house rules real estate deals, anything to do with real estate, also deals with your domestic happiness. So there may be some frustration with, if you're having any real estate deals going on, you may be frustrated with those in various different ways. Take care of your mother, and don't get frustrated with her. Watch your communication with her. Like I mentioned, communication is going to be an issue, so make sure you communicate well and cordially with anybody that's living in your household, and especially your mother. Your business partner communication is also going to be impacted, so make sure your irritability, you need to watch that a little bit and make sure that you communicate well and politely without that irritation and without the frustration with business partners as well as your spouse. Your gains, I think, may be impacting your business gains a little bit, and if you're a commission-based person, earnings, then those might be impacted a little. Right now you might get frustrated with it. Taurus, this transit is happening in your 3rd house. So the 3rd house represents siblings, relocation, hard work, and lots of determination and hard work together. So you may watch your communication with your younger siblings. Don't get into it, especially with your father and your younger siblings. You may have some concerns, or you may have to put in a lot of hard work regarding some relocation. Also, you may be having to do extra hard work at work, and so don't be afraid of that. Don't get irritated or upset with your bosses. There's a chance you may be doing that. Don't do that. And make sure you keep your communication, especially with your siblings and your father, cordial. Don't start and get into fights or arguments with them. Again, make sure hard work is key right now. Keep your head down, work hard, and don't start any fights with bosses, fathers, siblings, and keep the hard work going. Gemini, this is happening in your 2nd house. So the 2nd house rules your communication, your food habits, and your finance. So you have to be very careful what you're eating right now. Make sure you eat well, and so you don't get sick. Also, your communication is going to be extremely challenged right now. You're going to be irritated with your family members, and so you may not communicate in the best way with them. Make sure you watch this, because otherwise things can take a really drastic turn and ruin relationships for good. So you have to watch your communication. You may be concerned about your earnings and your money situation right now. There's nothing you can do about it. Just keep your hard work going. Do what you have to do without worrying too much about it. Cancer, this is happening in your own 1st house, the house that represents you. Now, usually Cancer people are very emotional, very sensitive, and they don't have anger at all. So they're not very angry people. But when Mars moves through your 1st house, it can give you frustration that leads to anger. And who is this for? It's mostly related to your spouse or business partners. So make sure you keep a lid on that. Don't get into it with them. Also, you need to watch your health very carefully. This is not a good time for health. Make sure you watch what you're doing as far as physical workout. I think if you keep that going, that's the ticket to get. Make sure you stay healthy. Also watch what you eat, but mainly it's physical exercise that's going to get you through this transit. Otherwise, you might be feeling a little low and not so healthy. And definitely watch the communication within your household, with people that live in your household, and especially your spouse. Leo, this is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house rules expenses, investments, and you might be going through a time when you're thinking about some real estate transactions or buying real estate or something like that. It might be a good idea to postpone it or do it later. It might not work out really well for you. Also, you need to watch your own health as well as your spouse's health. Watch what you eat, and if possible, doing physical workout or going to the gym or whatever you can work out is probably a good idea for you. Otherwise, your health might suffer a little bit right now. Watch your expenses very, very well, tightly. If you don't have to spend the money, don't spend the money. Virgo. Now, this is happening in your 11th house. The 11th house is a great house because it denotes gains and wishes fulfillment, and of course monetary gains as well. So this is a time where you may be thinking a lot about multiple ways of how to manage your money, multiple ways to somehow different incomes or different sources of income. I think this is all going through your head right now, and it's a good time for that. Think through these carefully, come up with all these multiple plans of how to do this, manage money, invest your money, spend your money, everything finance and gains related. If you think through it carefully, you work hard at it and do it with honesty, it's going to give you great rewards. You're probably the only ascendant that's going to have a really good Mars transit, so do that. It's a good time for you. The only thing I caution you about is to watch your communication. You may be getting irritable just like the rest of us, so there may be irritability, frustration, but since it's a good transit for you, I think it should be easy for you to watch your communication. Libra, this transit is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house denotes career and profession. So in that way, it's a good transit for you. You may see some good things happening in your career, in your profession, as long as you keep your mouth under control and you don't get this irritable communication that all of us are going to have to go through or get frustrated at work. Work hard. As long as you work hard and you keep your bosses happy, good things may happen in your career. The only downside I see is that your spouse's health and your own health may suffer a little bit. Watch what you eat. Make sure you have a good physical exercise regimen going, and that's going to actually help you maintain your good health. Otherwise, your health and your communication with your spouse is probably a little challenge for you right now. But as long as you, like I said, maintain good physical habits, this time too shall pass. Scorpio, this is happening in your 9th house. So the 9th house denotes father, it denotes dharma, it denotes spirituality, also denotes long distance travel. So take good care of your health, of your father's health. Also, long distance travel is not recommended at this time. As far as work is concerned, if somebody is doing work with like foreign entities, foreign transactions, or anything to do with foreign, it's a really good time for that. I think you'll do really well. Also, at work, watch your communication, because there's chance you may get blamed for something, whether you did it or not, I'm not sure, but you may get blamed for something. So watch your communication at work. Don't get irritable, don't get frustrated. That's just how it is right now. Sagittarius, this is happening in your 8th house. So the 8th house is not a favorite of astrologers because it denotes, certain things like sudden events, life transformations. Also, it can denote like health issues. It could denote, accidents or something like that. I'm not trying to scare you. A lot depends on how Mars is placed in your birth chart, and if you're having a dasha, mahadasha, antardasha, pratyantardasha off Mars. So definitely not everybody's going to have something bad happen to them, but definitely watch your communication. There could be some disturbance in your domestic happiness as well. You take good care of your health. Be very cautious when you're driving. Just take the general care of what's happening around you, what's happening with you. Watch your back with your enemies. You may want to do something to transform yourself. Don't do that right now. So just general caution is suggested to Sagittarius, and I'm not trying to scare you for sure, but I'm just saying, just take the general caution, and then most things should be okay. Capricorn, this is happening in your 7th house. The 7th house mainly rules business and marital relationships. So there may be some relationship issues with your spouse, some anger issues, some ego issues, and any work that you've been doing, you may not see the results fast enough, or you may get impatient with it, and you may have some ego issues. So just watch for those. Make sure your communication is not so frustrated with people. And don't make enemies at this time. I think what you say to people may actually result in either breaking off a relationship or making enemies with them. So watch your words very carefully at this time. Otherwise, everything else is fine. Just like I said, been telling all my ascendants, watch your communication at this time. Aquarius, this is happening in your 6th house. So the 6th house has different, representations. So it represents enemies, it represents your health, it also represents a collection of money. So if you are a student and you're sitting for competitive exams or tests, it's a good time for you. If you've been waiting to collect something from other people, like money or long-term, past dues, this is a great time as well. But you do need to watch your health also yourself. So make sure you have a good health regimen. Also, relationship with your spouse may be a little challenging. Make sure you watch your communication with that as far as that's concerned. Also, your expenses. I think you need to watch your expenses. Aquarius has had Saturn sitting in his 12th house, raising its expenses all over the place. So make sure you keep a tight lid on expenses. Only spend what you have to. So that's going to also be impacted right now. And also watch your enemies very carefully to make sure you keep everything, what's going on around you. Pisces, this is happening in your 5th house. Now, a word of caution, your love relationships, unless you watch your communication very well, may actually end badly. So make sure your communication is very, very cordial. You may be challenged in that perspective, meaning you may feel very angry, very irritated right now. So that's definitely going to be something that you need to work on at this time. Also, if you're pregnant at this time and getting ready to deliver, there's a chance that it may end up in a C-section, because Mars denotes surgery as well. So just take very good care of your health right now. Communication with children, also is something that you need to watch for at this time. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to warn people to make sure they stay good. This is definitely not, I hope my videos don't scare people. I'm just trying to, make sure you stay, take the necessary caution and everything's good. It's, it's general prediction. Everything depends on your Mahadasha, Antardasha, and how Mars is placed in your chart. So no scaring, don't be scared. And again, you need to, but I'm just telling all my ascendants, you need to watch your communication and don't fall prey to the irritability and your frustration. So for Pisces, that's going to be a little bit of a factor. And this brings me to the end of my video. I hope you liked my video. Please do give me a like if you did. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and a very goodbye. Thank you for watching.